Homelessness in New York City is at an all-time high, but a new study suggests there is a way for some homeless families to find permanent housing and save the city millions of dollars in the process. So joining me to discuss this is the president and CEO of WIN and former City Council Speaker Christine Quinn. So good to see you, Ms. Quinn. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk about this, right? This all centers around the city's so-called 90-day rule. So
Yep.
it kind of explain for everybody what that exactly means.
Sure. So if you're homeless and you're in shelter and you meet a certain level of criteria, you can qualify for a housing voucher, and it is the best way to get out of shelter.
Okay.
0.3% of folks who use a voucher end up back in shelter. It really works. Now, when Giuliani was mayor, if people go back in the Wayback Machine, he hated homeless people. And he put all of these really cruel, in my opinion, policies in place, one of which was you have to stay in shelter. You have to suffer for 90 days until you can qualify to get a housing voucher. But clearly you're in shelter because you need housing.
Right.
So why wouldn't we want to engage the best tool to get housing immediately so you can leave shelter? Because no one wants to be in shelter. But you know who shouldn't be in shelter at all? Children. And 70% of the people in shelter right now are families with children. So we want the city to eliminate the 90-day rule. We think that would save the city, in some cases, $11,000 a family. For families in welfare hotels, $27,000, adding up to tens of millions of dollars. So if you don't care about kind of the humanity of it, that's your problem. But maybe then you do care about the financial impact on your tax bill.
Right, how it kind of affects people on their wallets, right? And talk about really the freeing up of space in the city's shelter system right now is a big topic of conversation for the mayor because he has the influx of migrants and asylum seekers that could then go to those spaces.
Absolutely. You know, we've had 66,000 asylum seekers come to New York. And this week we saw the mayor propose housing people in auditoriums, and the huge outcry, and that was withdrawn. If we open up shelter beds or hotel beds, then migrants can move into those units. I mean, rarely is there a policy initiative where you can be humane, save money, and impact on an international crisis. This is that change.
It's kind of an all-in-one. So just help us understand, though, the folks who are currently in the shelter system who are looking for that permanent housing, is that process sped up then to get them into a permanent house?
It has not been sped up because of the asylum seekers being here. Folks, there's a third of the people in WIN's shelters, and WIN is the largest provider of shelter to families with children. A third of the folks in our shelters today cannot apply for housing because they have not yet been there for 90 days.
Okay, so this process would be sped up with the elimination of the rule. Gotcha, understood. So have you presented this plan to the mayor? Are they reviewing it? What do you think?
We've presented it to the first deputy mayor, the deputy mayor for Health and Human Services, to the Department of Homeless Services commissioner, and they all say they're reviewing it. When the mayor over the winter made some very good administrative changes, a reporter asked him about the 90-day rule. He said he was looking at it, but you know, it's not that complicated. You don't really have to look at it that long. We are very grateful that the City Council has stepped forward and said if the mayor doesn't do it soon, we're prepared to pass legislation, and they're prepared to pass it, you know, maybe even in the next council meeting.
So how many rooms or space are we actually talking about? Have you broken down the numbers here? If you eliminate 90-day rule, how many spots would that free up immediately?
That's a little harder to calculate, but, you know, it would be a significant number because, as we believe, it'll be tens of millions of dollars in savings.
Yeah, and the millions of dollars in savings is a big aspect of this as well. I do want to get you, while we have you, just overall on the city's handling of the migrant crisis, right? You're the former Speaker of the City Council, so you know very well the policies in place to deal with things like this, the temporary hold now on the right to shelter. Your overall thoughts here?
You know, look, I am very sympathetic to the mayor that this big crisis came whoosh with no warning, with no way to prepare in advance. Now, that said, we're almost a year into this crisis. So I think there needs to be more done. You know, at WIN, for example, we're doing legal clinics for the asylum seekers to help them figure out what they have to do to get asylum. And you only have a year to do that in many cases. That should be spearheaded by the city. We've gotten one law firm to do it for us. A mayor or a governor could get every law firm to do it.
Yeah.
Also, the housing vouchers I talked about, you have to be an American citizen or documented to qualify for those. The mayor or the governor could, with a stroke of a pen, make those vouchers available to the undocumented, and we would then see individuals moving into permanent housing who came here seeking asylum.
All right, we're out of time, but I appreciate you being here to explain this. This is an excellent conversation.
Thank you.
Keep us posted on if you hear back from the mayor on anything, because it's an important initiative with that study. It's fascinating. We're going to post it online as well.